So this was a movie I decided not to watch, but then I heard the boys over at Red Letter Media praise it. And I thought that perhaps I'd misjudged it and decided to give it a shot anyway. The funny thing is, I listened to them talk about it, but when I tried to recall what they actually said about it, I couldn't remember any details. I somehow managed to retain basically no information about the movie itself at all. I had no idea what it was even about other than some kind of monster man. But yeah, the basic premise here is that there are two kids, a brother and a sister, who run into this monster man of some sort of intergalactic origin, and things go from there. And you know, this movie won me over immediately. I already loved the little intro with this scrolling text with a narrator telling us a few things about the backstory for our monster man. And what made it effective was the tone. Somehow it just felt very funny to me. In this tongue-in-cheek way, basically parodying monster movies from way back in the day. And if you manage to put me in a good mood that early on, chances are I'm gonna have a good time with it. And the good times did indeed continue with the very first scene introducing our protagonists, the brother and the sister, because that scene was just really funny as well. And I feel like I have to give special props to the girl because she was just great in this. Pretty much everyone did a great job with their performances actually. But she threw in that little extra flair every now and again that just cracked me up. But yeah, overall I feel like the tone and the comedic execution was very much this movie's strong suit. From the way it handled the juxtaposition of the goofy kids and this deathly serious monster, to the even more absurdist humor, which it does throw in there more later in the movie. Like the kid Alistair and the cop guy, without giving too much away here. Those were just hilarious, but indeed completely absurd things to add into a movie. But that's the thing with this one, it just clearly doesn't take itself very seriously. And that carried over to the overall production design as well, because, well, this is clearly a fairly low-budget production, but it embraced it. It just went with it and didn't try to hide it, instead it made it part of the overall aesthetic. And yeah, most things here look really janky and cheap, but I actually really liked the aesthetic. And there was some creative use of miniatures and practical effects as well. And while the monster design is very much inspired by classic Monster Man movies, it still actually looked pretty cool, and it's clear a bit more time and effort went into that than the other stuff. Now, I've mostly been giving this praise, and for good reason. But I will say that somewhere around halfway through, the premise did start to wear a bit thin. The funny stuff also didn't come quite as frequently and didn't quite pack the same punch as early on either. So I would say that the second half is noticeably weaker than the first half, while still being somewhat funny and fairly entertaining, so it definitely didn't lose me completely or anything. But I did absolutely love the early parts, and I can't say the same for the rest of it. But I mean, it is still very unique and funny, and I love the fact that something like this exists. And what that means is that I'm pretty much inclined to give this one a low 8. Boop. However, does that mean I would recommend it? Yeah, but I do realize that this kind of humor is probably not for everyone. And if you don't like the comedy in this, you're not gonna like the movie. So, you know, maybe give this one a peek or don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic.